Okay, so one last one on the mix. We're going to look at just what's on the mix bus. Excuse me. The sort of two plugins really of relevance. Ignore these two. This is one that I was using to try and broadcast this earlier on, and this is just a plugin that is altering, just correcting the listening position, which I use for my studio. And in this instance, I'm correcting the headphones I'm listening on. So I think the first thing to say is that this limiting plugin isn't really doing much more than just making sure then that all of the transient information that I want to go, or that I've designed into the mix, translates and works itself through this mastering process. This isn't a mastering process. This is me emulating crudely the mastering process. So it's pretty brutal. It's quite attacky. It's quite a heavy-handed mastering. So I'm attempting to do damage and just make sure that my mix can stand up to some pretty heavy mastering if required. If you have a little look at how it's sitting in that mastering. So I'm taking 4 to 5 dB out with this one mastering plugin, and it's sort of hitting that kind of -9, -8.5 to -9 LUFS, which is kind of loud for mastering when you consider -14 is streaming safety levels. I'm going to take that off, and you can hear that the mix does sort of stand up on its own without this on. That's the point. I'm not using this to hold the mix together. I'm just making sure that the mastering process doesn't ruin my mix. So if I bypass this, you can hear that the mix does not fall apart. So that's with it on. And that's off. So yeah, I'm going to leave it off for a second and take a quick look at the hardware that was on the mix bus as well. I sum analog, so I have multiple output sound card, 16 channels going into an analog summing box. In this instance, it's an SSL Sigma. When this mix was originally done, it was an Neve 8816. I've upgraded to the SSL recently, or cross-graded, just for some automation that the Sigma has on board. A worthy upgrade. I've really enjoyed the new sound. The bus compression is exactly the same though. So it's an SSL G series hardware unit that I've got. It's old. It's a little dirty. I didn't make those marks. I can't clean them off. It's a G series from the big SSL mix consoles. It's called a G384. The early, it's kind of a late 80s one that they made. But you can they've re-released it in the Logic, SSL Logic format if you're interested. But it's it just adds a certain snap to it. I can just demonstrate with that limiting processing off arm. I have to manually switch this off, so I've got to lean in. So this is the mix without the mastering, and compressor off first. And back on again. Off. And back on again. I'm using, I'm sort of recording that compressor into this Burl ADC, analog to digital converter, to record it back into the system where you're hearing it here. Excuse me. The problem is the compressor I'm using to attenuate the volume a little bit so it doesn't hit this converter too hard. So it sounded then as if the volume was reducing, but at parity that compressor is adding a snap and a tone, like a really pleasant tone to it. That's the point for this plugin here. This is the other plugin I wanted to show you. This is the plugin I used to help compare A/B, the original mix, and my new version, or the new version that I put together for the purposes of this demonstration. This plugin's great for this. This helps me with something that I've always struggled with, and that's A/Bing and comparing my mixes to others. So you can load in a number. You can load in up to 16 different songs into here. So you can compare different types of genres, different sounds, different areas. It has the ability to listen to just the subs, the bass, the low mids, the mids and the highs, different areas. So you can A/B in this way, the original mix, this recreated mix. Okay. It has this great thing, which is volume match. That allows you to kind of, it analyzes the two. So you can really clearly hear the difference at parity. It's not entirely, obviously, it's not going to be able to undo any mastering that's on the original or the reference, but it definitely goes some way to helping. It also has some other great features, a really great spectrum analyzer. You can check your frequency ranges. There's my nice sort of pink lilt from lows to highs. It has a phase correlation display, stereo imaging display. There's my center line, it's telling me all the differences in the top but not at the bottom, and then it's also going to actively show me my dynamic range, giving some indication as to whether it's loud or less. So yeah, it's telling me it's loud. I know that. I want it loud. Anyway, that's it for the mix bus. I'm actually going to do, once I've cleared my throat, that is, a quick run through of the mastering chain. This is one of the songs where I've mastered it myself. The band didn't have the budget for a master once this was ready for release, and I wanted to make sure that a good job was done. Enough time had passed from the mix to the mastering stage that I felt that I could get a clear perspective on it. So we'll have a quick look at that in the last of the videos, which is the mastering run through. But for now, thanks.